Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we'll be going through my tips for round 6, as well as going through and reviewing what was an alright round for tipping in round 5, as I got 6 out of 9 tips. It started off horrifically, but we came back in the end. But anyway, let's jump into this video. But before we do, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's jump straight into this. So, as you can see, Adelaide versus Geelong to start gather round. I had Adelaide by 21 and they ended up losing by 19. So I was 40 points off there. Adelaide looked extremely good until about the last 3 minutes of the first half, where Geelong were able to go bang, 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 kick 3 goals, got it back to within 2 goals. And then Adelaide crumbled in the second half. Their 3 bigs were still able to impact the game. I think they ended up with 7 goals between them, but I'm pretty sure it was just Paddy Dangerfield and Jeremy Cameron from memory that really stood up in the second half. I know that Atkins and Holmes and Bailey Smith had pretty good games throughout, but it was the 2 big guys, 2 of their main guys in the second half that stood up. They both ended up kicking 4, I think, so outdoing the big-headed trio there from Adelaide themselves. And that was the big difference from Geelong's point of view. And Geelong are in and around where we thought they'd be. They're just there and thereabouts. And Adelaide, to their credit as well, are still in and around that marker as well, being 3-2 and a 130 percentage. But they are falling back down to earth with a couple of losses here after beating North Melbourne, Essendon and St Kilda. Those are quite three of maybe the poorer sides, I would say. None of them being top 8 sides you would expect out of St Kilda, Essendon, and also North Melbourne. So there was that one. I got that one 40 points off. Then you have Sydney against Collingwood. I backed my boys with Collingwood having a lot of outs, but Collingwood just simply outclassed us. And yeah, they are a top side. They're going to be in and around the marker again. They're 4-1. I predicted them to finish, I think, 3rd, was it? Let me actually just check my thing here. I predicted Collingwood 3rd on both of them in the regular season, and then to go on and win, I think, against Brisbane in the grand final. And that is living somewhat up to expectation at this point. They lost to GWS in the first round, but other than that, they've really come out and smoked any team. They smacked Port Adelaide, beat Western Bulldogs, beat Carlton pretty convincingly, and then went on and smacked Sydney. Sydney do have a lot of questions to ask. I know that the injuries are definitely impacting them, but and they have seen a couple of youngsters turn up in terms of Hanley, Corey Warner, and Caden Cleary really developing well, but their top line is probably not performing to what they would expect in the likes of Chad Warner. Jimmy Rowbottom's doing all right. Brady Grundy's doing all right, but yeah, their forward line as well looks pretty off. Hayden McLean, Joel Amati went down, but there is definitely some question to ask. But Collingwood just clogged up the centre. From what I heard, I wasn't able to actually watch this game, but from what I heard from fans' reactions on both sides, they clogged up the centre and Sydney had to go wide, and Sydney just lost the contested marking, got absolutely smacked there because Collingwood were just better. And yeah, so that's that. I predicted Swans by 14. They ended up losing by 31, so I was 45 points off there. And then we started to turn it around. Gold Coast against North Melbourne. This one looked shaky 8 minutes into the third quarter or whatever when North were up by 8 points. But Gold Coast ran home hard. They kicked 12 out of the last 14 or something like that and ended up winning by 52 points. So I was 28 points off there even after tipping Gold Coast to win by 4 goals. So Gold Coast are definitely providing a lot more upside. I feel like this year they're winning on the road. I mean, this was gather round, but they're starting to win on the road as well. They've won 4 games. They've won at Optus Stadium. They've also won at... so yeah, that was considered round 2 because round 1 in this is... So they won at Optus Stadium in round 1, which in Footytips, ESPN Footytips is considered round 2 because they can't code a round 0 or something. Then in round 3, they beat Melbourne pretty convincingly. Round 4, they beat Adelaide by a point, but they looked off in that game as well. And then in round 5, they obviously defeated North Melbourne. They look really, really good. I'm pretty sure we have a Q clash, which could be top of the table in a couple of weeks' time. I believe it's the round 7 game. So not this week, but next week. I could be wrong about that though. You've got Carlton, West Coast Eagles. We thought Carlton would win this one just because West Coast are horrific. They're even worse than what we thought. Their midfield is getting towed up, and it looks like no matter who they put in that midfield, it looks weak. They have no ability to get it out of down back. I know Marek's stats look good, but it's because of the effective 40-meter effective kicks that he just plants, and then it's actually turnovers. So that's the reason why that his stats looks good. But they have no one able to just chip it around, get it to 40, and then go longer and get it that 2 kicks away from goal rather than 1. And that's the real problem with West Coast at the moment, that they can't even do that after getting absolutely obliterated in the contested possession. I believe it was their lowest contested possession of all time. Or something differential-wise, maybe. They just got smoked, and Carlton deservedly won. Then we get to Brisbane against Western Bulldogs. I predicted Brisbane by 22, and they won by 21. So that was actually a really, really good tip there. Western Bulldogs are still a damn good side. They're still a really good side. They do falter late on in the year, so we do need to take that into account later on in the year. But they're still missing Treloar and Bonds, as well as a couple of their key position players. Cody Waitman went down for a knee injury, and there's doubt whether he went in for another surgery, so there's doubt whether he would play again, but they're still a really good side. Essendon against Melbourne. I predicted Essendon by 15. They won by 39 points, so I was 4 goals off there, 24 points. But Essendon look all right. It's just a question of, are Melbourne just absolutely horrendous? That's the big question. Freo against Richmond. I said Freo by 6 goals. They ended up winning by 61 points. So I was 25 points off there. Still a pretty good prediction. GWS against St Kilda. I predicted GWS by 25. They ended up winning by 28. So I was 3 points off there. So 2 tips within a goal is pretty good, but the other tips have been pretty poor, I would say, throughout the round. Even though I'm getting the tip right, I'm just getting the margin blown out. And then Hawthorn forgot how to play in the first half. They were down, 59 points. They closed it to 5 goals, 30 points. So I was 51 points off there, but that was a really pathetic first half by Hawthorn. And then Port Adelaide sort of just let the game drift a little bit, as they knew it basically was one, other than this late little bit in the last quarter where Hawthorn got it to, I think, 22 points or something with about 10 minutes to go, and you thought maybe they'll pull this off. But Port Adelaide, I think, kicked 3 goals in about a minute. And that was when the game just went, because of the Willie Rioli double goal. That was the killer there. Then we get to round 6. Brisbane against Collingwood. Collingwood, I think, are a fair shout in this game. Still, I don't think it's 84-16, but it is at the Gabba. So I am going to go with Brisbane. I wouldn't be surprised if if Collingwood come out and win this game. Like, it doesn't surprise me completely. I would say it's more like 60-40. But Collingwood still have Houston outright, or am I wrong in saying that? Could be wrong. He might be back. I forget when he got his suspension exactly. They still have... DeGoey should be back, I believe. And there's still some guys out, I think, for Collingwood. Brisbane still obviously are pretty much full health from memory, other than, is it McCarthy? Dodie could come in. I think he's been playing VFL, but I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, VFL didn't have a game this last weekend because of the gather round. So I'm still going to predict Brisbane, I think, by 15 points in this game. Collingwood are an outstanding side, but these two are still my grand final favourites in terms of getting there. So we'll see how that pans out in the end. But yeah, 2 outstanding sides, and what a way to hopefully kick off this round. Then we get to an absolute stinker of a game, I feel like. You get Carlton against North Melbourne. North Melbourne could actually win this game. There is nothing stopping them, I don't think. George Wardlaw is back, which could help, but he could be on a minutes restriction in the AFL, or just, even if we're talking a total restriction of 5-10%, it just messes with rotations just slightly. I'm still going to go Carlton in this game, just because, and we'll see it selection day. If Pitnet's back and TDK's forward, then that could swing this around quite a lot. But you've still got Tristan Cherry, who looks a shadow of himself with a hamstring injury. And I think also just in terms of his effectiveness, he doesn't look effective at all in the ruck. He's gotten beat comfortably in the last couple of weeks in the ruck. I would even suggest that it's been 3 weeks running that he's got beaten. Adelaide against Riley O'Brien, I think he was not the greatest, but he definitely lost to Brodie Grundy and also lost to Jared Witts in the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to go Carlton in this game. I think if TDK solo rucks, he'll be able to just dominate Cherry around the ground, as well as just getting more damaging clearances. And that's what I think, why I think that Carlton will win. I think they'll get the more damaging clearances somehow. I know that their forward line will be makeshift, but North Melbourne's forward line can barely even kick a score at the moment. They kicked, what did they kick against? 89 points against Gold Coast, 52 against Sydney, and then 78 against Adelaide. So against sides that you're really conceding scores to, so that are conceding scores in Adelaide, and then also Gold Coast, they haven't been able to score that well, and they got smacked in the last quarter against Gold Coast. So I'm going to go Carlton in this game by 16 points. West Coast against Essendon, yeah, Essendon is going to win this one. I know that I'm probably I don't rate Essendon as high as some other people, but yeah, Essendon should win this one by, I think, 36 points. I just do not rate West Coast at all. Then we get to Melbourne against Fremantle. I think Melbourne could come back in this game in terms of just being a better side than what they have put up. But I do think Fremantle go over to the MCG and win this game. I think they win it, not convincingly, but I think that they win it by 13 points. They haven't been all that too convincing. I know that they played Richmond and ran away with it. They played the Bulldogs and beat them, and then they beat the West Coast Eagles, but they did lose to Sydney and also Geelong, and they lost to Geelong pretty convincingly. So, yeah, they're 3-2, but they played West Coast and also Richmond in that 5-game span. Then you have Adelaide against GWS. This could be both teams are staying in Adelaide, you'd expect. I actually think that, but then again, GWS has the defense to be able to counter Adelaide. But I'm going to go Adelaide. I think Adelaide could turn this around. I know they're playing in front of their fans. They lost very, very convincingly, or they lost it in the second half very, very convincingly against Geelong last week. So I think that they can come back here, and I think that they'll be able to beat GWS, which will be probably a surprise. But I think they'll win in a very, very classic game by 7 points. Gold Coast are going to beat Richmond. There's not even a second guessing. Even Sam Layla might be a test, so we'll see when team sheets come out whether he is actually playing or not. But yeah, I think Gold Coast win this game by 45 points. I think it's a very, very convincing performance. Then you have Sydney against Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide have won, if you actually look at the last couple games against Sydney. I know that they beat them in the... they smacked them last year in the regular season. And then the year before that, Port Adelaide have actually won, I think it's something like 13 out of the last 14, except for the most important game. Is that cursed with Sydney over? Sydney, I think, have McInerney as well as Logan McDonald returning. I don't know if Port have any further injuries. Let's actually go to AFL injuries. Sydney obviously had Amadi out for most likely a month. Or if not 6 weeks. There's some sort of, we'll see about that, how that goes. But they do have guys returning, like Melican as well. Whereas Bergman is a test. Burton Jones could be back. Is back from a suspension. Bergman has been cleared of structural damage in his knee, so he's a test. And Logan Evans could return. And Joe Berry could fall out of the 22. So they have a couple of tests, but Bergman will be the only one that matters. Sydney, not many returnees just yet. Cunningham re-injured, and Joel Amadi 4 to 6 weeks, as I said. Callum Mills getting closer. Ditoli and also Riek Andrew finally actually appear outside of the TBC, which is good. So Sydney slowly starting to drop, but you can see that they'll have Melican back to McDonald, Melican, and also Justin McInerney should be back. And Mills is considered in the next week or two that he should be back as well, but he may run out a VFL game first, you would expect. And yeah, they could have a Jack Buller up forward or someone like that to take the place of also a Amadi to allow McCartan down back. We'll see how that flows out. I'm still going to tip Sydney in this game. I still think that they can win it. It will be a lot tighter, I know, and Port Adelaide generally have the wood over us in the regular season, but I think that curse is broken. I think also that Port will be I mean, it's a Sunday game as well. Sydney coming off a 8-day rest as well. Oh, sorry, 9-day rest, I think it is. Whereas Port coming off a 7. So Sydney should be more rested. Both have to obviously travel. Yeah, I'm going to go Sydney in this game by 8 points, backing the boys in to turn it around. I think they do need to turn it around soon because it's getting to the worrying time. They're 2-3. And yeah, they have a run of games I think they can win in the near future from memory. Western Bulldogs against St Kilda. I actually rate St Kilda's chances in this game. I know Bont's returning, but I think that St Kilda, they did lose to GWS, but if you actually look at their losses, GWS and Adelaide, 2 form teams at the time, and they've beaten Geelong, they beat Richmond, and they beat Port Adelaide. So they've beaten 2 strongish sides. Well, Geelong is definitely a strong side, and then they smoked Richmond. Yeah, they smoked Richmond. And then they lost to GWS and also to Adelaide, who was above them in the ladder. So I think that they can win this game. I know Bont's going to be back, but I still think that St Kilda could win this game, and I'm going to go St Kilda in a slight little upset here by 12 points. And then you get Geelong against Hawthorn. I just rate Geelong's chances in this. I think Hawthorn have come back down to earth a little bit. I still think that they're a top 5 side, top 4 side, but I think that Geelong are just up there with Brisbane and Collingwood at the moment to be some of the strongest teams in the comp alongside Gold Coast. Whereas Hawthorn have looked a little bit edgy in their last couple of games. I know that they beat GWS and they beat Carlton, but Carlton isn't that good of a side. Essendon are not that good of a side. Sydney, they defeated, and rightfully so. So yeah, they're still a quality side, Hawthorn, but I think that they're just in that tier 2 of sides at the moment, I would say, and Geelong are just a little bit better. Geelong are just finding ways to win whenever they need it. And I mean, they lost to St Kilda and they lost to Brisbane, but Brisbane is still a class side to lose to. So they had one blip on the radar, Geelong, when they lost to St Kilda. And outside of that, they've been pretty dominant, I would say. But yeah, I'm going to go Geelong in this game, and I'm going to go Geelong by 8 points on an Easter Monday classic. But those are the tips there. If you did enjoy the video, you'll see on screen other videos, whether it be tipping best video for you guys or something to do with fantasy. Remember to subscribe so that you're notified when I upload as well. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for my game review of the Brisbane versus Collingwood Classic, I expect. But we'll see how that pans out tonight. Bye, guys.